Yeah, I see that the Russian Jew Sergei Mikhailovich have created entire Russian cluster for the Eastern Europe based on Kremlin propaganda. I just read this. Do you know how they were, by the way, do you know how they were developing artificial intelligence? They were developing artificial intelligence through, Mark Zuckerberg is going to confirm what I stated here. They were creating it through literally workers answering their own questions, basically the questions of the Illuminati circles. They were always, Illuminatis were always surrounded with philosophers, and they absolutely recorded absolutely every concern, every question, and so on. And that's basically how they were creating the artificial intelligence articles. And based on those articles, you get now to read through the algorithm, basically spits in your face. All you gotta answer to get this kind of garbage. It's a lie. This isn't true. This is here if Ukraine originally was a Poland. Ukraine never ever was any Poland. It's a completely distinctive, different culture, nation, everything. It doesn't have anything common with Ukraine doesn't have anything in common with Poland. Nothing really. The relationship between the Poland and Ukraine is such that Poland was nothing more than an apartheid inside of the Ukraine. Basically, they came to Ukraine, and together with the Jews, they were selling Ukrainian people like you sell on a market, I don't know, bananas or whatever you take to the market, vegetables, whatever. This is the bloody truth about the Poland. It was called serfdom. Ukraine was a victim. Ukraine was a casualty of Poland, to put it plain and simple. Look a little bit the map, look a little bit the history, and so Sergei Mikhailovich, a Russian Jew, also classified Ukrainians as Russians. This isn't the only blunder that you can get if you research these answers from this so-called artificial intelligence. It will spit you all kinds of issues, and then it's going to give you the answers. And you know, this is highly, highly, highly criminal, this stuff here. It never was. This never ever was any Poland. The Ukraine always was Ukraine, and Ukraine was bigger than Poland. And today I see this here. I see how Nawrocki, Polish president, is angry about Zelensky renaming one of his divisions into Stepan Bandera, after Stepan Bandera. Today, Poland still occupies huge parts of Ukraine. You don't have the Ukrainian minority that would travel to Poland, and then what they would do is they would multiply themselves over there and occupy certain Polish territories. But you have actually Pollacks that conquered parts of Ukraine, and territories which Poland owns today, that are still occupied by Poland. So this is like completely fucked up. Stepan Bandera was a negative person because he was involved in a World War II conflict, just like Finns or Hungarians or Croats. He was trying to get the Russians out. But it wasn't only about the Russians, but it was also about the Polish pest. It was about the Polish apartheid. It was about Stepan Bandera personally was not allowed to attend schools, universities. It was about Pollacks disallowing Ukrainians to even attend universities and that kind of stuff. It was one of the most disgusting histories that do not only trace back in time, but in modern history, actually, that concerned Poland and Ukraine. Now, the Polish people, majority of the Polish people like Ukrainian people, and Ukrainian people absolutely always look to Poland. The two countries could actually unite with one another, but in a political sense, Poland does not want to admit what I stated, and Bandera did kill apparently 100,000 Pollacks in Ukraine. Whether those Pollacks, I don't know, whether they collaborated with the Russians, or I have no idea what it is, or maybe they want continuation of the Polish apartheid in Ukraine. I do not know. But it appears there was so distinct racist with a prejudice against Ukrainians that Bandera, who became a leader of this resistance against the Russians, did not only resist against the Russians, but have also gone after the Pollacks. And have also slaughtered Jews, which occupied Poland, Ukraine, through the Polish Commonwealth for a very, 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 very long time. The biggest business of the Jews in Eastern Europe, in part of Ukraine, was actually a slave trade through the Crimea. So if you're going to research these things a little bit, you're going to see that this is a tremendous slander against Ukraine. And it comes in a rather extremely difficult times for Ukrainian people. Nawrocki seems like just cannot go past own blunders, own fuck-ups, and basically incorporate in a greater European, not only Ukrainian politic. It's a war on Europe from the side of from direction of the Russia. I'm just going to put it this way. Yeah, I mean, Stepan Bandera, you can call him whatever you want, but Finland also resisted to the Russia because of the prior Russian invasions on Finland under exactly the same criteria, or I should say principles, as Ukrainian Bandera did. So this is a topic, you know, you call it whatever, whichever way you want. Jews in the Soviet Union were a secret police. Jew could come in your home and make your family disappear. And they did. Not only of Ukrainians, but also of the Russians, and etc., etc., etc. Now, you can say that, no, you cannot actually say that Ukraine was part of the Poland because it was occupied by the Russia. I should say not only Poland, but also by the Russia. Or I should say, yeah, you cannot say that it was a part of Poland just because it was occupied by the Russia, right? This is this great Jew, Russian Jew, Sergei Mikhailovich Brin's theory, which confirms what I stated you earlier. It's a Jewish Russian supremacy. You're saying basically that you know what the fuck you're saying? You're saying basically that Ukraine never ever existed when you say this here, when you say this kind of a thesis. When you come up with this kind of thesis and you say this is totally stupid. It has nothing to do with this because it's got to do with the issues that I explained before. Why don't you admit that they actually, the stuff I was talking about, you know, they say that why did the Poland and Ukraine fought with one another? And they say it's because the two countries emerged from the Soviet Union and from the Russian and from the Austrian empires. Actually, they don't even say the Soviet Union. In a very communist way, they explain you because the two countries emerged from collapse of the Russian and Austrian empires. It's just totally cretin. I mean, totally. Why are you even allowed to give the answers like this under the so-called artificial intelligence? You know, you cannot say that if the Ukraine originally was part of the Poland, because there is a map of the Ukraine, and Ukrainian people are extremely hated by the Russians, for those of you that do not know this. Originally, it was Ukrainians who incorporated Russians into their state, because the two merged together till it became evident to Ukrainians that the Russians, the only thing they were doing is they were taking and killing as programmed, basically. That you have that Holodomor, starvation of the Ukrainian people, deliberate extermination procedures in place throughout the so-called Soviet Union and that kind of stuff. And that shit still did not stop. It never stopped, basically. Since the day when Ukrainians decided to incorporate the Russians in their world, the Ukrainians, the only thing that was happening, the Russian brother continued to slaughter and slaughter and slaughter and embrace them. This is disgusting. You're saying, basically, when you say that if the Ukraine originally was a Poland, you're saying basically that Ukraine never existed. And I'm going to say you're fucking crazy. Completely. The way I see these things, based on what I see, Ukraine has much more in common with the Germany than it does have with the Poland. And if you don't believe me, what you do is you look at how much assistance what country provides for whom, and you're going to see that Poland is basically nowhere when compared to the Germany. Poland is doing shit again, and great. It's like completely forgotten history of the yesterday in the middle of the war, in the middle of the Russian war on Ukraine. And this is not only the Russian war on Ukraine, but it's also on entire Europe. So, you know, Pollack like a Pollack is doing his own thing. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying maybe you want to keep this shit for the times when there is no bloodshed and stuff. Maybe you want to keep these things between... It's nothing in between. You may want to wait for a more appropriate, better moment, rather than to incite in a war on Ukraine, talking to Pollacks here. It's like you have no better shit to do than to argue with a country that is under attack, basically. Threat to exist. Nation, entire nation, basically. And they suffer so that you Pollacks can actually exist. They suffer because I had to do with this stuff a lot. They said there's going to be one country they're going to accept into the European Union. And there will be a decision to make, whether that be a Poland or Ukraine. And I was one of the people who insisted for Poland to be accepted into European Union. Ukraine, unfortunately, was left out. And Ukrainians back then behaved extremely idiotic. It was so idiotic that they continue with their Soviet indoctrination, with the Russian indoctrination, even upon their independence. That independence from Soviet Union when it comes to Ukraine didn't make any fucking sense. They were not really ready for independence. After all, they end up giving the nuclear arsenal their own nuclear arsenal to the Russians. I'm not defending stupidity from anybody. If you're fucking stupid, you're stupid. And that's exactly what happened to Ukrainians. They were not accepted to the European Union, so that Poland could be accepted to the European Union instead. And they went on, and they even gave the nuclear arsenal to the Russians. Angela Merkel can tell you about this stuff. Everything that I say is the way it was during the background meetings. That's exactly the way it is. So you would go to this here, where it says Statista here, so then you can see what country gives what. And I'm really repulsed. I haven't done the video in a while. I got really angry with Ukrainians about the whole thing because, you know, it's not supposed to be this way. I end up without any word, anything. Basically, in the end, I was left behind completely to my own devices, and I was used for absolutely everything when it comes to Ukraine. I have a clowns doing the stuff instead of me. Here, it says Poland here. Look at it. It says here, general government expansion of military aid in the European Union. That's 2023, but you can see that Poland is even after Sweden, Slovakia, Italy, Denmark, Netherlands, and so on. This is not good time to argue unless you're fucking stupid. And I believe that country should take a note of Poland doing this stuff. It's not okay. This isn't good. This is bad. It's not doing a commercial, but I need to see something else here. This is just terrible, man. Terrible. This kind of thesis, this kind of brazen so-called artificial intelligence shit, it's a blatant discrimination. It's a blatant supremacy over another that has nothing to do with the reality, and it does nothing other than tremendous damage to the Europe. Tremendous damage. It's extremely damaging. It actually made me angry when I saw that stuff that you do, the stuff that you like this, that you're giving this kind of stuff. Like you advertise lies like this. It's not good. Here you have interactive data tracker. Oh crappy. Extremely stupid stuff. Extremely stupid stuff in extremely wrong stuff in oh man, is it gonna tracker data? Alright, so that will be this here. When it's necessary to unite, when it's necessary to demonstrate entire world that Europe exists, there is something to the Europe. We have people that continue to is it like, what is this? I mean, come on guys. You guys, not you, but there's people that are searching for the differences rather to bring people together, which I find stupid. I mean, this is primitive. This is extremely primitive. It's extremely primitive stuff. I am not trying to separate Poland and Ukraine. That's not what I'm doing. But this kind of stuff is not helpful to anybody. This is stupid. The Pollacks are actually fortunate to get Ukrainians to their homes. You could have a totally different neighbors. You could have a totally different situation. You're fortunate to have this type of immigrants, if you want to call them. So this year, this is basically the reality, right? From 2022 to 2025, it's 2026, but I imagine from when it comes to Poland, it's only worse. They didn't dedicate nothing other than bra, 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 bra already. I don't know how long am I watching this crap. Only negative stuff about Ukraine. Negative, negative, negative. I don't give a fuck about this stuff. All I want to know is if Ukrainians are doing their job. That's what I want to know. Zelensky pissed me off tremendously. Stuff that he did is very bad. I'm in an extremely difficult situation because of the Illuminati people, because of the stuff that went on. But if the Ukrainians are doing their job, if the Ukrainians continue to build their country, their nation, that's the only reason to support them. That's the reason when you support them. That's not the reason to run them over, to screw them up on every step of the way with something that is destroying entire Europe. Soviet Union was the invader way before the Adolf Hitler appeared anywhere. Soviet Union invaded Baltic states. Soviet Union invaded Finland. Soviet Union was committing crime within the Soviet Union. Soviet Union was a big bully. This was not a peace state, and sooner than later, Soviet Union would assault entire Europe too. Finland got them really good, but the Soviet Union invaded actually Europe through the Finland already. We had the same situation we have today with the Soviet Union already, with the Finland. Before the World War II broke out. Finland is just few million people. Soviet Union was packed up with the people. I don't know how many million, 350 million against 5 million or something like this. I don't know what the number was. The Winter War, if you want to look. It's called the Winter War. They ran the little countries. They were doing stuff, bad stuff, all over the place, whatever they could do, and always got away with it. It was just a matter of time when that's going to happen. So this is the support from Poland. Poland is a big country. It's a 35 million people, 40 million people actually. And you can see that Norway gives more assistance, financial assistance, than Poland does. And Poland is a neighbor that actually depends. The war we watch today could have well played inside of the Poland. And it hurts because the Pollacks know about it. Your politician, your Pollacks, Morawiecki, Kaczynski, all of you, with Valensa, with absolutely every one of you, knows that easily what we watch today in Poland could play out in Ukraine. And if it would play in Ukraine, I doubt that you Pollacks could defeat yourself as successful as Ukrainians are. I'm going to tell you honest what the way I see these things. What is this here? Norway gives more money than Poland. Sweden gives more money than Poland. Netherlands give more money than Poland. Denmark gives more money than Poland. These are tiny little countries. Then the top contributors, as you see right there, are United Kingdom, and there is Germany right there at the top. So, you know, maybe you could be more useful. I don't know what to tell you. It's not looking out good for your own Polish state when you're doing things like this. Maybe you can shut up until the war ends, and then what you can do is you can confront about these things, or whatever is it. For me personally, whatever gets Ukrainians going, it's good. It's very good. Whatever it is that keeps them going, that get them going and get their job done is very, very, very good, including the morale, whatever it is. Whatever the hell it is, it's good. I mentioned to you Sergei Mikhailovich Brin a little earlier. He had this type of implant done already in 2000 and for sure in 2018, but I actually deem that even in 2017. I don't know, paying enough attention to this. Yes, so this is not new for him. I'm going to make a bold claim, indeed. There is this artificial intelligence. There is this artificial intelligence that suggested that the Ukrainians are as small Russians. The Ukrainians are not Russians. When they fight, the way they fight, the Ukrainians are not Russians. It doesn't come that kind of stuff. I don't see it anywhere. Are Ukrainians genetically different from Russians? Listen to me good. Let me demonstrate you something. And maybe the Pollacks can learn about this too. And maybe you're going to start to make sense in this world. When you see the pictures like this, you're either going to be a fucking genetically different, or you're going to perish. Because the killers, the murderers you see today in 2026, still the animals come across the border to murder, to kill, to rape. They don't ask if you're genetically similar to them or not. The main killer located in Moscow, claims that Ukrainians are genetically the same people like Russians, is the same thing. But he is not showing this love in a form of love. He is showing it exactly in a form of what I'm demonstrating you right there. So man, if you are not genetically different, you better make your fucking differences that is going to make a difference for you. So instead of you going to the gulag, instead of you being starved to death, instead of you spending your life inside of the psychiatric hospital, whatever, whichever way they, talking about their Russian social engineers, choose to exterminate you, can be avoided. Let me repeat this. You must find the way to be different, because the survival dictates what I stated. No difference means only one thing: a return of the Russian brother. That's all there is. A slaughterhouse. A Russian slaughterhouse. That's all there is. If you want Ivan to return, and I shouldn't use the Ivan, I just use a random name, whatever. Then what you do is you do the stuff you did in the past. Now, if you want a job, if you want the prosperity, if you want etc., etc., then as well as mine, make yourself as different as much as you possibly can and as distinctive from those that try to exterminate you in as much as you possibly can. The more you're different, I told you about these things. When the Russians would come in our house, I told you about the Chinese, how they viewed our house here in Novo Mesto, until 2005. I told you about how Chinese were coming here and considered Slovenia like it was part of the Russia. They behaved here like owners. Talking about these communist leaders, apparatchiks. Apparently in Russia, as the communist members of the top communist party, they can do with the Russians whatever they want, and that's exactly how they started to behave here in Slovenia. Till Putin observed anger in the faces of Germans, Americans, British, French, and others. Well, it started to behave in such a way like I don't even exist practically. Like ordering, like basically saying, like they came here like they were owner of this house here, everything. And started to convince, talking about the Putin, started to convince his Chinese partneri to calm down before it's going to be a trouble. Because he realized that this isn't going well with West. And Chinese changed the tune completely in 2005. They started to understand that this is not a Russia here in Slovenia. I'm not proud about the Russian flag of Slovenia, not about the name Slovenia, not about how the Slovenes view, saw, and understand this whole thing. But I was born here, and this used to be part of the Germany for 1,300 years. 1,300 years. Within less than 70 years, Serbs, Russians attempted to exterminate us here. I'm a living example, a proof about the stuff that went on during the so-called Yugoslavia. and even before the kingdom of the SHS, but never as evident as what went on during Yugoslavia. Karađorđević was just as shit as Tito, the same shit. Serbia was the so-called Yugoslavia. Slovenes who suffered so much under Germany, Slovenes who suffered so much under Austria, they suffered so much, somehow managed to keep their identity for 1,300 years together with their language. Something I mentioned earlier, figure of 70 years, because of the kingdom of the SHS I incorporated. It was formed in let's just say 1920. That was the end of the Austria for us here in Slovenia. Serbs tried to get rid of it within the 70-year period. You understand the fucking difference here we're talking about? Because the terror, the red terror in Slovenia, the Milan Kučan, Borut Pahor, Tanja Fajon, Robert Golob, etc., 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 the red terror, the leftists, the terrorists, managed to organize, managed to enforce so successfully, so efficiently. And I'm going to say, in my case, thanks to Central Intelligence Agency, thanks to the British Royals, thanks to the Germans. I'm talking about my case. It didn't matter to them. It mattered to them that I'm gone of the picture. That's all there was. That Slovenes, even today, once they became independent in their own country, known as Slovenia, for the first time in the history of the Slovenia. So you can tell I was on the picture. You can tell that something like this, and I'm talking about my case, I, myself, actually created even the country known as Slovenia for the first time in the history of this people. Now it's going to be a lot of, I'm not going to even say what, they're going to talk about there was a country known as a Carantania, etc., Carantania. Yeah, read about that. For the first time, the Slovenes in their history had their own country. This is just fucked up, isn't it? These are facts. The evil Germans maintained Slovenian identity for 1,300 years within their German realm. The German empires were actually so strong, if you're going to look at the map, so popular in so-called Slovenia, that at one point, even Austria was not a part of Germany, but the Slovenia still remained part of the Germany. That was during the Holy German Empire. These are just basically facts. This is just the way it is. I can't stand the people that cannot see themselves in the mirror for what they are, that they are so disgusted with their own genetics, with what they see inside of the mirrors, history. Nobody's fucking saying to you that you have to whatever that you have to. But I had Lavrov, Putin visiting with Medvedev. Medvedev was not even the worst. I had Shoigu, I had them visit here, the graveyard here, in the city of the Novo Mesto. And they were terrified when they saw the Slovenian names. It was horror. Then they didn't know what the fuck to do. you know what they did? They started to develop even in Serbia, names that's called falsification. Falsificate names that would match those of Slovenes, so that they could argue that we are related. First, they wanted to exterminate. Then they realized that the differences are too big. Then they went on and they started to falsificate in Russia and in Serbia. So they could... You get the point. And they started to ship us Russians here to Slovenia. Big time. Search for whoever would be willing to go to Russia so they could portray this like there is something between us and etc. and Serbia and so on. First they wanted to exterminate. They were not successful with extermination. Then they were searching desperately for other ways. I witnessed to this stuff. The more you're different, the better you're off. When the Russians came in our house, they never dared to fuck with the Germans. They never dared to fuck with British. They never dared to fuck with Americans. They never dared to fuck with the Swedish. They never dared to fuck with Norwegians. They never dared to fuck with the Finnish. All through they threatened them. They threatened Finns. They threatened Swedes. They were looking down on them like they're fucking nobody. You know? They look down on the British like it's nothing. Like it's a little boat that you can sink at any time you like. But they didn't fuck with demands to get people killed like they were doing with me. They didn't dare to do any of that stuff. When they come to your country, wherever they come, they are reserved. If they greet you on the street or whatever, they know that you're distant. They know that you're different. They don't dare to be intrusive. But if they meet you as a Slav, whether you're a Pollack or you're Ukrainian or Slovenian or whatever it is the fuck you are. Mi Slavani! We are all Slavs. We are all Slavani, Slavic. That's the stuff I was talking about earlier pertaining to the return of the Ivan. The return of the slaughterhouse. That common thing with the Russians is what makes Russia strong. That people are stupid enough, idiotic enough to see themselves in it is exactly what brings the death on your doorsteps. That's exactly the threat. That's exactly the red terror, the red Slavic terror threat that brings the death at your doorsteps. That's exactly what brings the death into the families. That's exactly what kills people. When you turn the flashlight and you start to flashlight this scum, it's about the same thing like you flash the cockroaches. They go, they disperse, they disappear, they run in all directions possible. That's a Ruski, that's a Russian brother. The more you're distinctive, the better you're off. The more Helga or Hans you're going to marry and produce the children, the offsprings, the less the Russian brother will be keen to return the slaughterhouse in wherever it is that you are coming from when it comes to the Europe. And this is Europe. This is Europe. This is the way it is. There was making of fun. There was laughing about this. The Germans felt like a shit. Everybody felt like a shit. All the white people, they felt like a shit. There was only one person who cherished them inside of this house, and that was me. Actually, they didn't even dare to salute one another. They didn't know what to do. They didn't even dare to look one another in the face and recognize themselves as members of the same race, ethnicity, whatever. That's how shit it was here. The only one that recognized them, I was. And I got fucked as a reward for that. Yet, what I stated to you is the truth no matter what you do. The more your language is going to be distinctive, the more you're going to look distinct, the more distinctive you're going to look, the more respect they're going to have for you. The more reserve they're going to have for you. More they will think about attacking somebody that is aligned to the West. Actually, excuse me, less they will dare to contemplate to return with the wars, with killings, and etc., etc. Russia's been embarrassment to itself, a tremendous one. Russia itself became a gulag because of the issues I discussed in this video. Russians alone have a tremendous disparities between one another. I am not inciting against, absolutely not against the Asian people, because it just happened so that Asians appeal to me tremendously. Chinese changed enormously. They're no longer the way it used to be. It's a different thing. Their Communist Party also adjusted itself to me. They started to understand me in a different way, and I always had a compassion for the Asian people. They're just appealing in my way, in their own way. They were extremely impatient. They were extremely intolerant. But it paid the money, and they did not hijack me to their countries. I was brought by the white people over there. Ordered to do with me by the white people, whatever they wanted things to be. Till things started to develop. And then, you know, bad grows from the worst. Worst goes to the worst. But, you know, Russia is a fucking threat to everybody. Russia sits on a big territory of the Korea, China. You can see how it goes through the Kazakhstan, all that Central Asia. That's not very pretty either. They do their song like this because they are restrained. But there was time when they were not restrained, and the bombs were flying all over Africa and Syria. Wherever they could do shit, they caused very serious problems. Chechnya. They were very occupied with extermination procedure against their neighbors. Little countries that were defenseless, that could not defend themselves, and even the Chechnya won the war against them. They still returned. They couldn't take that was no longer part of the Soviet Union, that no longer was occupied by the Russia, and went on to slaughter people over there to prove their point, that they can do it anyways. This is a tremendous thuggery, tremendous problem, pest for entire Europe, and as such for the entire world. It costed an enormous amount of money, the war in Ukraine, that could help develop world, the stability of the world, and instead went into the bits, divided an entire globe, world, because of Russian supremacy. That word, that Slavic, that does not mean to me shit. That doesn't mean to me anything at all. That solidarity, I tasted one on my skin. Solidarity was like this. I was Slavic as much. Listen, I was a son of the communists, of the partisans, as much as they needed, and Slavs, as much as they needed foreign people to stay away from me. You understand? That much. Not only foreign, but also here domestic in Slovenia. And I was as much as German as it was necessary to promote their illusion about solidarity with other nations, with other races, as it was required by the communism, Russian imperialism, Slovenes, Pollacks, doing their best basically to earn the trust through the beatings, through the torture done on me. Well, I was borrowed by the Pollacks and taken to other countries where they were doing business. So people in Egypt could get their hands on me, and in Taiwan and whatever. And so they could prove them checks, so they could prove them that they are different than me. Is a kurva niemiecka. Is a German whore. He's not one of us. Why the fuck do you bring me with you? It wasn't only about using me to point out something that doesn't exist anywhere. We don't have any kind of Nazis anywhere. The Bandera is resilience. It's a Ukrainian statehood. He did not only go kill Jews, he went on to kill Russians. He did not only kill Pollacks, he also killed Jews, he also killed Russians. He killed whatever was not Ukrainian. Look a little bit his resume, his education, what went on and so on. So you must understand also, or I shouldn't say this, this is wrong. Nobody must anything. You have to make a choice. Choose a direction, in which direction you're going. You're going in direction of the Israel, you're going in direction of Russia, or you're going in direction of the Europe. Ukrainians appear to me, they made the direction clear. They're fighting for the survival, they're fighting for the Europe, and as such, they don't bother me. I give them everything I can. If they can do something like this, they prove to every one of you Europeans that you exist. You should be proud of you Ukrainians, wherever the hell you are in Europe. I don't have anything else I would say to this. I don't have anything else to say to this. This should be a lesson. This should be something that you should actively continue to build on every fucking time. Every fucking time. Whenever they try to underestimate you, and the Russians do it all the fucking time. They spit on Ukrainians all the fucking time. They spit on Pollacks too all the time, but Pollacks are quiet like a mouse. Every fucking time they spit on me. And you all know, whoever was involved in MK Ultra, there was a price to pay. Every time they spit on me, I was even more German. I was even more American. I was even more capitalist. It's a warfare, and warfare is life. Either you're gonna war, people in America say worship, whatever, or you're gonna fucking die. Whichever way you know. But the choice you have, eventually there is people in this world that are on your side, talking about Ukraine right now, and if you make the right choices, you're going to have a country and you're going to partner with the people. They'll make all the difference for you and your family. Eventually you're going to have a future. That's exactly what you're fighting for, hopefully. I just couldn't take that. I just couldn't take this anymore. This is just incredible. The stuff that I saw it here. This is incredible. Serbia, as you know, Serbia exploded in a war. Look at this garbage here. Serbia exploded in a war against several different countries previously known as republics. Serbia at the same time declared the war. This is how Yugoslavia have fallen apart. Serbia declared the war at the same time on Slovenia, on Croatia, on Bosnia, on Kosovo, and they went on to kill over there in Vojvodina. They started to purge immediately people, Hungarian minority, and they started to purge in Macedonia. They tried to get the control, and they started to purge also in the Montenegro. The two countries, Macedonia and Montenegro, never officially in the war with Serbia. However, they had enough. And they proclaimed, even they proclaimed their own independence. Don't wait for the Russian brother to return. Don't wait for the slaughterhouse to return. Start making the difference today. Associate, do business with the people that are open to you. This is the way the life works. Some people are naturally like this. There are your allies that you have to take advantage of that and work with those people and expand together for a common benefit. What is this here, Sergei Mikhailovich Brin? What was the old name of Ukraine? Socialist Republic. Ukrainian Socialist, right? Communists, right, you say? Is Ukraine poor or wealthy country? Who is stronger? We all know who is crazier. This is strangely much better after they call them a small the Russians and stuff like this. It used to be. If you're gonna go through my older videos, I already did the video like this. And now the artificial intelligence updated. The update goes. I am not here to take your shit. And hopefully the people that watch this channel, hopefully the people that participate in this channel, you also don't take it no more. Hopefully you're also becoming aware. Hopefully you also start to view the whole thing in a different light. From the clouds, from total crap, for most of you not, but overall the situation for the last 54 years that I witnessed to this thing, Europe emerges. It was a Berlin Wall that had fallen down, and these little countries in Eastern Europe started to emerge out of shadows of death, the Soviet Union. And it's now that these countries are actually proving the point. So I don't have anything else. I would say this is what it is. This is the main news. This news here about Zelensky returning the highest Polish award, stripped, and this and that. I think I was very clear. It says here, we and the Poles cannot be anything but partners and friends because we are what? Let me see. Yes, you cannot be anything but friends and etc. and brothers and sisters. You should be. It will do you good. This is not going to open. I'm not going to be here until tomorrow. It would do really good. It would do good for you, yes. It would do good for you, yes. Just as I stated, somewhere in the middle of whatever of this video, pick a choice which one is going to be. to enter the European Union. Which one do you want inside of the European Union? They were asking me. I said Poland. The two cannot be. So I said Poland is going to be. You more than a fucking friends. You understand? You Pollacks owe to Ukraine. Your ass is on a worm and on a safe because of Ukraine. You may want to consider you may want to consider what I stated in this video. It's just a Ukrainian army unit. I'm not Ukrainian because I'm not Ukrainian, and as my not being Ukrainian, I don't have the right to decide about these things. But the internet is very busy, just like the way you see it. The neighbors are working very hard right now. I will demonstrate you what it means to have an open Wi-Fi, what Milan Kuchan, the local police, did with my Wi-Fi. I will demonstrate you. We're just gonna do this here. So you have 4,000, 5,000 people. I personally, if I was Ukrainian, I would do the same thing. I would name one after Bandera or whatever. I would do this. Do you know why I would do this? I would do this because during the times like this, I would want to have diversified all kinds of stuff that concern Ukrainian issues as much as possible. That's exactly why I would do this. Not because there would be people that would want to serve in the unit because of its name, UPA, but in this case because it pisses off Russians. It accents the importance of something that gave Ukrainian people their statehood. You don't actually believe that the statehood was built with Russians giving land to Ukrainians upon the fall of the Soviet Union, or do you? You don't actually believe that shit. It's exactly the stuff that you see there that kept Ukraine alive. So I do give that medal of honor, whatever the Pollacks gave. I honorably give one back. Gladly I would give one back. And I would not want to take another one. You know this country? It's called Israel. Did you ever heard about this one here? How many war crimes they committed today? Jews. What have they done today again? When you Google like this, they don't say nothing. Yes? It's not good, right? You don't want to tell nothing about that stuff. You don't want to have nothing to do with it. How about this here? What did Jews did today? You think you will be mourning yours in Ukraine and you will be doing at the same time shit like this in other part of the world to the people? So, Ukrainians did the right thing naming the Ukrainian unit, whatever the hell they named it. Whatever gets the people going, it's good, it's very good. Good job. Give that medal back. And I call Germans maybe to explain to the Pollacks about the stuff that I spoke about today in this video. Asking them about the issue as per which of the two countries should be inside of the European Union. The Polish beasts, as soon as they got into the European Union, and they got into European Union literally through using me, they express in return beatings and torture. That's a Slavic solidarity, you know that. You know what the Pollacks did? After I voted them into the European Union, they had to do it. They had to do it like this. Pollacks had to do it this way. Do you know why the Pollacks did this? They started with the beatings. And they started with the beatings because I was not nice to Ukrainian people. Pollacks love you. The Polski loves you, right? Pollacki. You don't like to be called Pollacks, not even Pollacks, right? But it was like this, you scum, murderers, right? As soon as you got to European Union, you pay me back. How do you pay me back? So yes, so your brothers, your Slavic brothers, Ukrainian, would not feel hurt. And you also had to get a little bit extra beatings, because you didn't want to have a bad relationship with the Russians after all, right? That's another minority that you have in the Poland also, right? So you have to be good with everybody. It's called the Slavic unity, etc., blah, 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 right? So thanks for watching this video. Till next time, Zelensky, just give that medal in a parenthesis of honor, give it back over there to the Pollacks. Let them store that one in the Warsaw. It's going to come them handy. Maybe we should vote on Polish membership inside of the European Union. Use maybe one to instead hand one to the Ukraine and have Pollacks take the second round of the Russian bullets and get maybe a little bit smarter, brighter across the night. Like a little bit slap bitch, and you get a little bit smarter, more intelligent immediately, right? The Russian brother comes back to Warsaw with the tanks. You all forgot about what went on in Praga. In Praha, no? It's Praha. Czech Republika, no? You forgot about it. You wasn't only in the Budapest, you were also in the Praga, in the Prague. Call it the Prague, Czech Republic capital. It was also shit that went on also inside of the Warsaw. You also have a Warsaw uprising, not Warsaw uprising, that was in the World War II. But you also had a Warsaw uprising under the Soviet Union, no? When the Ruski brother gave you the iron boot on your throats over there in Poland. You have a short memory. Maybe you need a little shortcut to, you know, like Italians say, avanti, basically to wake you up a little bit. You seems like you are having problems with the issues that really shouldn't be of your concern. You should be really working with the Ukrainians. Every fucking Russian tank that goes up the air is one less that goes on Poland. But you don't understand. Enjoy it. Remember my, I don't know if there is somebody that remembers my reports, the psychiatric reports from Psychiatric Hospital Ljubljana Polje, Slovenia. It was written on the report, on the original report in 2012, how some Norwegian Helga was chasing me. They were very, very humorous. They were so fucking racist. There was a girl, Helle, yeah, Björklund too, psychologist, who was involved in this. And it was this Slovenian psychiatrist, this red terrorist psychiatrist. That's what they have. They were getting their lessons at, in Moscow, in a Russian Serbsky institute, in a Serbsky psychiatric hospital, where they also tortured me. They had me in prisons in Russia. They had me in the psychiatric wards. And one of those psychiatric wards, hospitals, also was Serbsky Psychiatric Center in Moscow. That's where the Slovenes would go. Ponosni Slovenci, the Slovenes, they would go and they would learn from their Russian brothers and sisters on how to handle I don't even know how they view me, you know. They already have a Russian flag here, and the country is called Slovenia. Yeah. They wrote themselves on a psychiatric papers that I told them that it was a Norwegian Helga that chased me, that ran after me, and all kinds of deliria, all kinds of schizophrenia, really Slovenian schizophrenia. Slovenia is a regular schizophrenia garbage. The more Germans, British, Americans, Italians, French, Spaniards, Scandinavians inside of the Ukraine, the less Russian brother. That's all I have to say. And make kids, make children, and change the fucking language. And when they come and they tell you that you are Slavs, that you are brothers and I don't know what, you look at them like they are fucking crazy. And the rest of it I'm not going to even say. And happy life, happy families, happy prosperity, without the fear, without the terror. Ukraine be. I don't know what to tell you otherwise than this.